attending this meeting and attending to speak to the board should be aware that they are being videotaped. In order to meet the requirements of the Pennsylvania Sunshine Law, it is necessary to record the names of all citizens who speak to the board during the meeting. To assure compliance with this requirement, it is essential that those planning to address the board come to the microphone and state their name and address. Members of the audience are asked to limit their questions and comments to no more than 5 minutes. This limit will permit time for all those who wish to speak to the board to do so, and whenever members of the audience exceed this time limit, the board president may ask the individual to yield the microphone to the next speaker. And this is in reference to Board Policy 8344.2. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to first apologize. We are a little late, 4 or 5 minutes it looks like from here. This board was in executive session, and for a matter of public record, Mrs. Derrickson, we were in executive session at 6 o'clock. We concluded approximately 7:25. And we were there for reasons of potential litigation. At this time, a pledge. Mr. Mosey, would you lead us in a pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Madam President, if I may, before we get started with a formal meeting.
Yes, sir.
There was something I noticed a couple meetings ago, and I just need some clarification. On the front of our agendas on a weekly basis, I have 2 questions with 2 of the committees.
Mr. Mosey, I'm going to go to you first, but let me get Mrs. Derrickson in as Secretary Pro Tem so that she is officially allowed to take the minutes of what you have to say.
Very good.
Okay, board members, I need a recommendation for the approval to appoint Marie Derrickson as Board Secretary Pro Tem for this evening.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Schilling, second by Mosey. Board questions left? Right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Derrickson, for being with us tonight. Mr. Mosey, go ahead.
Okay. I went back to the original appointments, 13098 of the various committee people, and I just don't know if changes were made and I was not made aware of it, but I noticed on the North Penn Administration Association, NPAA, you had originally appointed Mr. Hill and Mrs. Scher. Is that been changed?
Yes, as the MERD plan was moving forward, Mr. Hill requested more help with the committee.
Okay.
And you'll remember at that time there was talk of a MERD plan for the administrators, and there were board members outside of the committee, of which I think you were one of the supporting members.
I'm on meet and discuss.
Okay, but separate from that, the support for some of the movements with the MERD plan. And at that time, I put Mr. Sierpinski on there to help out that committee.
Okay, and then meet and discuss, your original appointment was Hill, Mosey, and Krieger, and I noticed it's Hill, Sierpinski, and Scher. Is that a mistake on meet and discuss?
Are they different things?
They are different things.
You know what I'm going to need to do? That has come up before. It's caused some confusion. There's meet and discuss with the teachers union.
Right.
There's also meet and discuss with administrators.
I'm talking meet and discuss with administrators.
I think that's an air pad. I think that.
Yeah, I think that is.
Your name and Sharice's should be on
This
there.
could be meet and discuss with NPEA,
AA.
right, or EA.
Yes.
Is there only one meet and discuss?
Oh, no, wait, no, you have to know.
there's 2.
This
Okay,
is
there's
meet
2.
and discuss with NPAA because
Right.
you have yourself and Mr. Sierpinski
This,
for
that
NPAA.
should be
It
myself.
should be Hill,
Mosey,
Krieger,
and
Mosey.
Krieger.
Yeah.
Okay, I only
I know
say this
that, right.
The
because
only time that committee was together was to do the assignment on MERD.
I only bring this up because the audience does get copies of this with our phone numbers at the bottom, so if they're calling
Mrs.
people,
Derrickson.
they don't have any confusion.
On your face sheet, under meet and discuss, there's Don Hill, Vincent Sierpinski, and Vicki Scher. Please remove Sierpinski and Scher. Please add Krieger and Mosey. And that is the meet and discuss original committee, separate and apart from that MERD piece.
I'm not trying to delay the meeting.
And the North Penn Administration Association, up there it says Don Hill and Vicki Scher should then now add Vincent Sierpinski. The meet and discuss with the teachers union, well, will remain Mr. Sierpinski and myself.
I only bring it up because the audience does have copies of that cover sheet, and phone numbers, our phone numbers are at the bottom, so we should keep it straight, I think.
And you did the right thing, thank you. Okay, board members, I need recommend approval of the minutes of the 755th meeting held on 2/19/98 as circulated.
So moved.
Second it.
Okay, motion by Mosey, second by Sierpinski. Questions, right?
There's only a comment to be checked for clarification. It does mention one executive session, on there, but the March 3rd meeting, executive session at 6 p.m. for matters of litigation, I have not seen come forward as an announced executive session. If that has not been done, then perhaps it should be entered into this board meeting. Announcement.
Okay, I believe it was earlier in that evening. It would be something worth reviewing a tape for. But in the event that it may have been missed, that can be added, please. Mrs. Derrickson?
That was March 3rd at 6.
Yes. Okay, read back for me who made the motion and the second on this move. Mrs. Derrickson? Mosey and Sherpinsky. Mr. Mosey?
Yes.
Will you amend your motion to include the possible repeat of an executive session on March 3rd, 1998?
You can't amend minutes if it didn't happen, can you?
I'm not sure.
She wants you to withdraw the motion, that way you were approving as minutes circulated.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay. And would you approve the motion with the
Changes.
change that the March 3rd, 1998 executive session was also held, in the event that it wasn't picked up?
Yes, I will.
Mr. Sherpinsky, you would withdraw your
Yes.
second?
Yes, I'll withdraw my
And you would
first
provide a
second.
second to the change?
Second to the change motion, yes.
Okay, all in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Thank you. Recommend approval of the minutes of the 2/10/98 board work session. Need a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mosey. Second by Schilling. Questions left? Right? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. Committee reports, facilities, buildings, and grounds. Mr. Mosey.
Just two things tonight, Madam President. I would just like to clarify something. You've received some correspondence concerning some settlement factors we have at Oak Park. And I met yesterday afternoon with Mr. Wood and with Mr. Strobel, because when I received the information, the pictures weren't that good, to say the least. And I feel as, you're a lousy photographer. Yeah. And I feel as chairman of the facilities committee, it's my responsibility to go out and see these things firsthand. So Mr. Wood and Mr. Strobel were kind enough to meet me there. The problem, I will say this up front, is not a safety hazard. Our children are safe. We have had the engineer come in. He has pulled all our drawings and files and so forth. We're working very closely with Mr. Adams. Mr. Wood and I had a couple suggestions yesterday, and Mr. Wood will be getting back with Mr. Adams as per our suggestions. And hopefully at the next, perhaps the next facilities meeting, which will be the 31st. If not, it'll definitely be at the committee meeting in April as to any suggestions that he has. We are monitoring the situation on a weekly basis. There has been no further settlement. The children are not in danger of being harmed in any way. It looks initially, based on what the engineer feels, that it's just after almost 30 years, we just have some normal settlement, but there are some corrective measures that we can take to reinforce it and really make us all feel a lot better. Second item is on the high school. Board members, I'm sorry. This is a combination of both. Excuse me, I'll read it again. Board members have received a report from Frank Adams, PE, and AIA regarding his finding as they relate to the building settlement of Oak Park Elementary School. Regret the fact that the Xerox color copies did not reproduce with better clarity. We will continue to monitor this condition and bring any recommendation for remediation to the committee. The high school project continues to move at an excellent pace. Excavation is complete and the concrete pad is poured for the 15,000-gallon in-ground fuel oil tank. The following work has been completed as of this date. Building pad, 90% complete. Area B footers, 95% complete. Area B foundation walls, 95% complete. Area B piers, 95% complete. Area A footers, 35% complete. And Area A foundation walls, 25% complete. Steel arrived on February 17th, 1998 for Area C. Area C is the cafeteria, that's in the back, and was erected the same day. Bar joists and roof deck material is on location. One half of the finished floor has been poured. We are beginning to break through the wall to create the new connecting corridor. And I will add that we had hoped that the second half of the pad would have been poured yesterday, today, but of course weather does not permit, so we're hoping that if we get a break in the next few days, that will be done. So we're moving moving very quickly. And the final item on my report will be bids for the NAP project will be released on April 14th, 1998, and opened on May the 8th, 1998. That's the end of report.
Okay, Mr. Mosey, as usual, you're very busy and you do good homework. Any questions to the right on Mr. Mosey's report? Left?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Do we have finished drawings and specs for the NAP project yet? In-house?
Not yet, but I have reminded Mr. Del Ciato that I need to have those so that we can start printing. I talked a little bit about that today. We've got to start the process of printing everything in-house. So I will certainly keep following up.
Thank you.
Any further questions to left? Okay, thank you, Mr. Mosey. High school
You're welcome.
expansion.
I gave that report.
Right, you don't have anything further to say on that area?
No, ma'am.
Okay, any questions on that high school expansion specifically? Thank you, sir. NAP expansion, Mr. Schilling.
I have nothing to add to the report, Mr. Mosey just stated.
Okay. Any questions specifically, NAP? Thank you. Community services and policy, Mr. Shapinsky.
Tonight for the audience, we have the first reading of Board Policy 4112.5, employment, update to employment procedures, posting of open positions and transfers. It is distributed as in your packet. Also tonight, the board will be voting on the update to our policy recommended to board committees 9140 for approval. End of report.
Okay, thank you, sir. Board questions left? Right? Okay, thank you, sir. K through 12 curriculum, Mrs. Krieger.
Thank you. The Board Curriculum Committee met this month on March the 5th, and a number of items were discussed. And on tonight's agenda, you will see the school calendar for the 1998-99 school year for your approval. The calendar now includes 180 instructional days for our students, which is an increase of 2 days over this year's calendar, and 180 days for our staff. The Curriculum Committee and the administration work jointly to design this calendar, which provides for time for in-service and staff development, as well as the increased number of instructional days for the students. Since Labor Day falls so late, which is September 7th this year, students will be starting school on Tuesday, September 8th, 1998, and the last day for students will be Friday, June 11th, 1999. As well, in regards to the calendar, the 1999-2000 calendar will be brought back to the Curriculum Committee in November of 1998 for the beginning of its development. Various curriculum review cycles were also discussed, including the health and physical education curriculum. Our staff has been surveyed to identify areas for improvement in those subject areas, and a steering committee has set the direction, including forming a committee of teachers to review proposed state standards and to begin the revision of that curriculum. They will be presenting recommended changes to the community and the boards over the next year. In foreign language, we continue to review the program and develop program recommendations. Under technology, various committees are continuing to work on a recommendation for integrating technology into the curriculum, as well as developing a technology literacy curriculum. The complete technology recommendation, which is being driven by our curriculum, will be recommended and presented in a joint meeting on April the 2nd at 6:00 p.m. I believe it will be in this room, and that will be a joint committee meeting between technology and curriculum. At this time, I'd like to turn the mic over to Dr. Robinson for any updates that she may have to share with us in regards to the report card committee and staff development.
Thank you, Mrs. Krieger. Since the last board meeting, there's been a lot of staff development that has taken place. In March, department meetings were held at both the middle school and the middle and the high school levels to work on a variety of topics, including but not limited to final exams, special education laws, curriculum issues, test revisions, technology, department concerns, materials. And in April, there is a plan for an extensive MISE in-service with the middle school staff and middle states at the high school level. The elementary staff has been working in the areas of assessment, writing, MISE, which is the Merck Institute of Science Education, looking at science materials more in depth, looking at technology, software, ClassWorks, tabletops, use of scanners, inquiry-based science instruction, and upcoming in May, there will be a continuation of our focus on results with follow-up training scheduled planned in late March for department chairs, building administrators in preparation for our May in-service with staff to continue the work in, as I said, results along with building goals. The report card committee is comprised of approximately 50-plus members representing classroom teachers, parents, special area staff like music and art, special educators, supervisors, board members, curriculum department members, and technology. The committee has met twice. We have conducted a survey among the teaching staff to determine what the strengths and weaknesses are of our current report cards. And we have reviewed literature, current literature on reporting systems and assessment strategies. We plan to conduct a survey with the parents to get feedback from parents as to their feelings on the current report card. And right now, the plan is to do that through the distribution of a survey in April with the report cards that go home. And we will look at that information, collate it. The committee is then going to start looking at where do we need to go, how are we going to get there, setting a timeline, and what further direction that we need to take. We hope to keep you updated at subsequent board meetings.
Thank you. End of my report.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Krieger, did you say that we've added 2 more days
Yes.
to the student calendar?
Yes, we have.
Okay, well, that was a goal of this board, and we appreciate you heading that up and seeing to that with the hard work with Betty and Bob. Thank you.
It did not come easily, but I did it.
But we compromised.
And I might add that it wasn't a very popular decision with my children, I might add, but they'll get over it.
But it was with your babysitter. Questions to the left, Mr. Mosley? Mr. Allen?
No.
Around?
I just like to say, for the parents out there who are happy to see now that next year their kids are going to get educated for 2 more days. Thanks, Cherie. She was the point person on this. And for the students in the back who next year will have to go to school 2 more days, you can also thank Cherie. But I'm glad it was a good compromise to work out all this. And I know that was a big issue in the contract last year.
Yes, it was a very big issue on the contract.
Thank you.
Okay. To the right.
Only to confirm this, are they actually full days?
The 2 extra days?
Are we having?
Yes, they are counted as 2 full instructional days.
No, are they 2 full educational days, or are they early dismissal days? That's not.
Well, the 2 days in question that
Just to be
Mrs.
sure.
Scheer is alluding to, one of the days falls in November, which is the annual conference time here in the district. And rather than a full day off, the administrators were able to compromise with my wishes and the wishes of the board to turn it into a full day of instruction, yes, with an early dismissal.
Oh, it's a win-win.
And the May 18th day, I believe, was initially on the calendar was a full day off, and the administration did compromise with a day of instruction with early dismissal for staff and service.
Oh, it was a win-win.
Yes, I believe it was a win-win.
Mr. Schultz?
Bob, could you just, okay, out of the 180 days, I know what we had before, I think there were 9 early dismissals. We have 182, and how many of those are early dismissals? Is it still 9, or is it now 11? Just to make sure.
I believe there's 7 for parent-teacher conferences,
No,
and
just to know.
and 3 at elementary, and 3 at all levels for what we would consider staff development. So it'll be a total of 10, I believe.
Any further questions?
All right, well, thank you. Mrs. Krieger, I know I've been working to make some gains from the minimum 180 days required by law.
Okay, Mr. Allen, Special Ed and Student Services.
Yes, there will be an issue on the agenda tonight going to be asked to hire an outside service for speech and language services. If you've read your backup, you'll see that the administration tried to hire a person, but nobody wanted the job. So we had to go out and hire an outside service. End of report.
Okay. That'll come up later. I have questions on that later about that $40 amount, because I don't think for 1 minute that matches up to what we pay our own people. But anyway, another question, another time. Questions, right? Left. Thank you, Mr. Allen. Support services continued.
No report.
Any questions on the no report?
How come?
But at least it's not a no-show.
Best report of the night.
Best report tonight. Okay, finance. Mr. Sharp.
Yes, we had, Finance Committee last met February 24th. At that meeting, we discussed topics that have been revisited recently during our technology presentation as early as last night. In that, we had a more detailed discussion regarding leasing versus bond borrowing in regards to technology. The pros and cons were put forth. However, there were no conclusions reached during the course of those discussions as part of the committee. We also were presented with refinancing proposals for the general bond obligations. We did approve for a presentation to the board the 3 bonds which were discussed at the committee of the whole meeting for the purposes of the board to have advance opportunity to raise any questions that they might have. However, at that time, it was not expected to come forward for a board vote until May, because those bonds themselves are not callable until June 1. I do see that there is the motion here to ask the board to at least state its intent, although you would still in the future decide which restructuring of the bond issue you'd like to go with. I personally see no gain to the board in boxing itself in that regard. I mean, numbers will change. You have to prorate out your interest at the time from your last payment. Furthermore, it was very clear, I felt, that we had issues of Keenest Road to deal with. We have an explanation.
Go ahead, continue.
We have an expectation of a settlement there, and that money was very much related to these bonds, because after this, there are no callable bonds for another year. And I know very clearly in 1996, the board, in evaluating the bond issue of December 1996, made a promise to this community that it was its intention to draw down our debt with the $6 million recovered through the Keenest Road sale. And I would have liked all of those components brought together before we made a formal commitment, particularly regarding the $1992 million bond. And I say that one because I found that it to be the most likely candidate in drawing down our debt by a total of $3.5 million with a $2 million payment on its principal. So I myself will make a motion to table. I anticipate it failing, but I'd like the board to have the opportunity to know my reasons why, and that I would like to have taken the time until the May 15th action meeting for us to see if any further answers are forthcoming regarding the acquisition of that property by Cutler Group. Next in our discussions, we dealt with the 1998-99 budget on a very esoteric level. We basically were presented some of the expected effects of reassessment. Although Carol is still fine-tuning those numbers. We do expect the final budget, the preliminary budget to be available tomorrow, Carol?
Yes.
For members of the board, and when can we say for the community at the February 24th meeting? I mean, March 24th meeting?
Yes.
It will be available for the community. So everyone may want to mark those dates. That meeting is held at 6 o'clock. Beyond that, those were the major issues of those discussions, and as I said, the major issues that have come forward since then deals with item 6E on the agenda. And there have been issues raised, and I know that there has been some coverage in the local newspaper regarding some bond issue questions. This item on the agenda has been brought forward for a 1996 bond issue review. I'd like it noted for the record that I do not believe that this action will fully address the full scope of the district's bond management issues, and I myself cannot support it because I believe we need to go much further and much deeper and have a much greater level of accountability behind the review that we actually move forward with. And I'll leave it at that right now, but it was not a motion put forth by the Finance Committee.
Okay, any questions for that?
I would just like to say, Madam President, that in regards to what Mrs. Scheer brings up about the refinancing of the bonds, I have had second thoughts. First of all, I thought that this was not going to come forward until the April meeting. I thought last week at the work session, Mr. Bradbury assured us we did not have to make a decision right away, and I thought we were going to discuss it in April.
Well, we're not, those discussions will go on in April. This is
Okay.
to start the preparation of paperwork and intent. We have to decide, if you remember, on that A or B.
Right.
Which package?
And I did with that we could, I do have some serious questions about the $2 million bond that says Series 1990 here. That's the one that had the highest interest rates. And with the settlement of Keenest Road, I'm leaning in favor we just pay that thing off and not refinance it, just get it off the books. And perhaps give the taxpayers a little bit of a break and reduce some of our bond debt service.
For the
That's all I
record,
have to say.
Mr. Bradbury assured me that he had no compelling reason to have any motion made on this bond at this given time.
Okay, any further questions, Mr. Mosey?
No, ma'am, no, I'm
Okay,
finished. Thank you.
around?
I just have to agree that, my only concern was with that $2 million bond in 1990, and I would rather pay that off once the Keenest Road money comes in. So I could support the refinancing of the others, but the $2 million I think would best be served to the taxpayers if we just paid that off. So I can't support the motion as it's on the table right now.
Okay. Around? Alan?
Well, I'll wait till there's a motion.
Just a comment
Let's get through the
on the
report.
finance report. I happen to be a member of that committee, and I happen to disagree with many comments that Mrs. Scherer said about the finance committee and recommending things. I'm a member of that committee, and I disagree with many of her comments. I am for this. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Around?
I'll wait till the motion.
Okay.
End of report.
Okay, personnel, Mr. Hill.
Yes, there are numerous personnel items on the agenda tonight that, as usual, that we seek your approval on, but one of them I'd like to call to the attention of the audience and to our viewers on TV. I always like to speak to our viewers on TV. That is we've had an opportunity now, we've done, and had we're going to be hiring a motion tonight to hire our manager of school and community services that we have a need to fill, and Christine Liberowski, I believe is how she pronounced the name. We're most fortunate to have her as the winning candidate from a group of qualified candidates that solicited that position. So we ask your approval of her appointment. End of personnel report.
Okay. Questions, right?
Comment for personnel, future. As the bio is attached to this agenda, I'd like to just let it be considered that that is also the level of information that we as a board members not serving on the committee are receiving. And I've found sometimes we are receiving greater detail regarding the many teachers that Dr. Miller is recommending for hire than we are on some of our upper-level administrative positions. And I'd like that to be taken into consideration as a concern on my part, that a little bit more detail in the bio could be, I'm sure, well within the realm of reasonable information.
Any further questions to that?
Oh, I just had one. Mr. Hill, We were given a job description, and there were a couple recommendations made by board members at that time to make 3 specific changes in the job description. Do you know if they were made or not?
That is in process, and I don't know where that stands.
Mr. Mosey, I didn't hear the first part of what you said. Which job
I said
description were
that
you talking
when
about?
we were, it's the manager of school / community services. There were 3 recommendations that came up at the meeting about making changes to the job description.
Right.
And I know they were brought up at the meeting. I just wondered if any changes had been made from this original draft, if they'd have incorporated.
I know that Dr. Bose and I and Dr. Hassler are working on that, and that will be complete before Ms. Liberowski gets here.
Okay. Would you suggest then that I give you a call just to make sure that the ones that we were concerned about are incorporated?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the list? Okay, thank you, Mr. Hill. Continue on through legislative and technology. You got 3 in a row.
Yeah, legislative is pretty easy because until the state does something about the budget, we won't know where our funding is, and that is still in process. So one of these days, the people in Harrisburg will get done, and then we'll know what our funding will be. We hope it'll be at least as we had last year, which is very small compared to some other school districts. Moving right along to technology. I'm always happy to talk about technology as we move forward and do bigger and better things. Just as a side comment, getting started, Mr. Mosey and I last night attended a meeting at the Ford facility.
Tuesday night.
Tuesday night? Every day looks the same when you're retired. You can't. Somebody's got to tell me when the weekend's here. So, but we did attend the meeting, and it was a great experience just to see that operation and seeing another organization that's deeply involved in technology in their operation. But I think the main thing to bring brought forward there was the fact that they're working closely with our school district and our teachers and bringing their resources for our use in a lot of areas. And we look for their guidance and their help. So it was a good evening that I enjoyed, and I enjoyed particularly touring their plant, which I never had an opportunity to do before. But moving on with the meat of the technology report, we had a committee meeting on Thursday, March 5th, and our committee meetings will continue to be on the first Thursday of the month, where we learned that the work being done in this building was on schedule and on budget. We also learned that the high school IMC work, we put those computers in, that work is nearly completed, and at this time is even being utilized by our students in the North Penn High School. We also received details that presented us on updating the IMCs in the 3 middle schools. As you remember, as I reported previously, the plan was to do the high school and then move on to the libraries and the middle schools. And this project was reviewed in detail, and it was approved by the committee and brought forward to the work session this month, where the total board consensus was to bring it forward for approval tonight. And I'm asking for the approval so that we can move ahead and bringing the technology to our middle school students in the 3 schools. The technology is, as we're progressing through here, we're doing it in a logical and a prudent manner, and I think we're on the right path. We also had a joint committee meeting this week, and the joint was with the curriculum and finance, but fortunately all the board members were here, and where we received a general overview of the plan for technology in totality. There was no dollars associated with it. It was an overview plan and where they're planning to go and what we plan to see as we move forward. But in April, at a committee meeting, we will receive further details, and that meeting will be on April the 2nd at 6 o'clock, which will be another joint meeting with curriculum and finance, and I hope most of the board members we will receive details and work plan primarily in the next school year, what we can accomplish the next school year and what we can normally fund the next school year, and how that ties into what communication networks we need, and how we can then apply for E-rate funding for part of that, for that communication work. And those details were brought forward to us on April 2nd. That is the end of my technology report.
Okay, thank you, sir. Board questions, right?
Quick one, but is Mrs. Klein here? No. I don't know if you can answer it, John, but last night when we were meeting over technology, I heard them talk about the review, the evaluation that went on, electrical and networking. Review was mentioned that had happened with them going to each of our elementary schools. Is that correct? Is that there was actually already the
That's on tonight's
assessment?
agenda.
Art can answer that.
That's on tonight's agenda to
Well, I
approve
saw
that.
it, but
we
last
have-
night I heard her say that we've done this, and that's what I'm wondering if this is in addition
I
to.
can't imagine she would have said that. Our agreement
No,
is,
she didn't.
and Marie pulled a lot of data today, we will tomorrow, or in fact, he picked it up today, we really jumped the gun, but we can call him in the morning and tell him if he's approved or not approved.
Sure.
But he needed to have all of our electric usage in all the buildings. He needed to have floor plans, which we provided with a central location for the panels that bring the electric from the street. He needed all the sub-panels, and he's ready to fire out and work nonstop to get us an early number, and then formalize his whole presentation, his whole written presentation afterwards. So they're ready to go. He was here today and did pick up the material that Marie provided him, which is our demand kilowatt hours, and that tells us what we'll have available in each building as far as available power.
Okay, thanks, Ron, I appreciate you
And
clearing that
he
up.
did also, and it was good news to both of us, to Carol and I, that he did reduce his not to exceed to $9,000.
What about the networking? Is that a hard number? I mean, do we have a proposal? Is there an agreement?
Carol may be able to address that.
What was the question?
The networking proposal for the.
That's entered the agenda, and I hadn't heard that discussed before.
Well, the networking, if you're talking about the local area networks or the wide area networks, so if you're talking about
No,
networking?
the network
No,
engineer.
there's another
For $15,000.
addition to the
Not
agenda
discussed
from the
at the work
committee
session, right?
discussions.
You caught me off
No.
base.
Do we have an
You can only
agreement?
have one.
Is that by agreement, by proposal? How did we come to that dollar figure?
Not the Biro, it's the other individual.
Well,
We addressed
both
the
of them, actually.
Biro, and I look to you to address the networking consultant that's gonna work with Deb.
Well, you know, Pat, I understand what Vicky's talking about. There's some confusion because we were only told about an electrical
All I
assessment.
heard was electrical
And nobody ever
needs.
mentioned any
Nobody ever
networking
mentioned
engineer
the,
coming
and
And it
forward.
just popped up on the agenda again.
And Art's
It's
saying
on the
we're
agenda.
doing an electrical assessment at the elementary level, and yet last night we were told that's not being done, because we're not looking at the elementary
That's
level.
right.
So there's some confusion.
But
on
no,
that.
I also would like to know, how do we have hard numbers? I mean, was there any process whatsoever in determining this cost or in securing that cost? Or any competitive process that we should at least be aware of as we
I
get
will
these
speak-
single source
I will speak to
recommendations?
the electric. You sent us away saying that Bell Atlantic or PP&L or PECO would provide this service for
To
nothing.
consider them.
They were interesting conversations. They didn't.
Adelphia?
How nuts are you, right?
Adelphia?
They immediately told us that there's no free lunch. First of all, they don't have the staff to do it. Secondly, if they did, they would charge us more than an electrical engineer in a consulting firm.
That's not as embarrassing.
We had conversation earlier about the comfort level that we have with Byron, and the fact that he's not gonna have to do Bridal, Walton, and Gwinnett Square because he designed them. So, and that's why we're now reflecting not to exceed $9,000. And my recommendation is Byro, they know our buildings.
Well, he's an electrical contractor that has come through the bidding process before with
Before he is,
sometimes high,
he's not
sometimes
always
low.
low, he was a tad higher on the in-ground tanks, but a person that he trained was on the in-ground tanks. He's just competitive and available. And we're pleased to work with him.
Okay, on the network, agenda item, networking, whatever,
Network
you can find it here again.
Yeah, the resolution, as I'm reading it, is for a combination of professional services for network engineering and for the electrical assessment. The network engineering is the design or the architecture of what's being brought forward in April as the technology plan, and it has been ongoing since January. They have, at this point, given some interim recommendations that are being evaluated and that will be developed fully next week in order to present you with a technology recommendation on April 2nd.
You mean, an engineer on paper, is that what I'm understanding? You're saying associated with developing the plans themselves? Carol, I'm trying to follow that.
Try to explain, just like when you build a building, you hire an architect to lay it out on paper and to
Right.
design it so somebody can then
Right.
build it. Same thing is true with technology, that you need to lay it out on paper, survey the sites, lay it out on paper, so that somebody can then build it.
How did we come to them?
Conducted interviews in January of a number of different vendors, and we spoke with the technology committee about the preference not to go with any vendor that's selling a particular product or affiliated with a particular product, because that vendor may then most likely would choose to lead you to a design that incorporated their product in the ultimate construction. So this particular firm gave us a proposal which was competitive and was complete, and we were satisfied with their references.
And they have no side packages?
They don't sell anything.
No, they don't sell anything, okay. No, that's good to know.
Yes, it is.
It's good to know. Okay, any other questions to left?
Yeah. I guess I need some clarification, because last week when we were talking about, and there was quite a bit of discussion about bringing someone in to do the electrical assessment, and there was a lot of discussion about bringing in Byro. Now we find out after the fact that the network engineer has been on the job since January. Well, if the electrical assessment had to come before this board, why didn't the network engineer have to come before this board for approval? Can someone answer that for me? Mr. Solicitor, can perhaps you answer that for me?
Thank you, Mr. Mosey.
Well, no, I'm really concerned because it's after the fact. We find out in March that the man's been here since January. And I know it's professional services, but it looks like it's going to be over $10,000.
But you know what? If we're uncomfortable.
I'm not uncomfortable.
Okay, but you know what? If we're not
Never
comfortable
met
or
the man.
ready, then we don't do it.
He's already done the work. He's been here since January. Has he not been working since January?
It's a team
Okay,
of
but it's
people.
for.
It's a team of people, and they've been in and out of
Why don't we
positions.
separate the motion?
Right.
When we make the motion, let's separate them.
Yeah, I think that's what we have to do.
That's what I said.
Do you have a promise to
Well, I don't know what that.
I think where my problem is that.
Your point is well
I know
taken.
we don't have to bid professional services.
That's correct.
But I think as a courtesy, the board should have an idea of what's going on around here so that, I know Mr. Wood, when he goes out for, I've seen him request services for as little as $3,000 and $4,000. But he brings it before the board and he gets our approval. He doesn't have to, but he has in the past.
Mr. Mezzi, our recommendation as solicitor has always been that these types of contracts be brought to the board for approval. And you're correct, they don't always have to be bid, depending on the circumstance, but they should be reviewed and passed on, at least discussed by the board. So your point is well taken.
Thank you.
Mr. Mazzi, I'm going to take further questions, but what we'll do is, Mr. Hill, the next technology meeting is what day? What date?
April 2nd.
April 2nd. This come back and be a part of that committee work that committees are supposed to do. And then we have a special action planned for later. If there is enough consensus at that time, we have a date already set up for special action.
I don't have a problem in approving this tonight because Mrs. Deddy is satisfied with the man and the team. Obviously, they're doing good work. I just have a problem in things coming to us after the fact. And you know, And I don't want to get into a long discussion about a couple other things, but I think the board knows where I'm coming from.
You do.
Mr. Mosley brings up a very valid point, and to be honest with you, this got beyond my understanding also. And in fact, I was kind of surprised about coming to my attention right now. I look at this paper, but I didn't pick this up. And he is correct that we did talk about the electrical work being done at the buildings, but I don't recall any discussion regarding the network engineering and InfoQuest group. That might have been some dialogue about going on, but there was I guess nothing was brought up as relative to the number of dollars and so forth we're on. And I agree with you that if there is any service work that should be done in the future relative to technology work, it should come to the board. It should come to the committee first, and for approval, be brought to the board for action. There's no question about that. In fact, tonight on the agenda, we're ratifying some things that was purchased before relative to computers and so forth. And this is another item that, while the work is proceeding, and I agree with Mr. Mosley that there's no reason, don't cut our nose off to spite our face, but at this point in the game, to get the work is being done. But I will make sure that in the committee meeting that and make it clear tonight that we want to make sure that any services that are being contracted for, that we know about them and that the board has a chance to understand what's happening. Valid point.
Okay. Anybody else to the left? Okay. All right. Gosh, where are we?
North Montauk.
Thank you, Mr. Mosey. Bill Allen, North Montauk.
I'm afraid. We may never get through it. Okay.
Give it a shot.
Couple issues. The JOC met Monday night, and they awarded contracts for what I would call the complete renovation of the kitchen and baking area. And this will be the final piece of the renovation and expansion that has to go on over there. We have a lot of plumbing work to do, a lot of electrical work, and a lot of our equipment is being replaced, and much of it was bought when the building was built about 25 years ago. So we're renovating that completely, and that was approved Monday night. The other issue is we are under budget for the whole building project, and also we have, the Vote Tech has taken everybody's monies that they received before the project started, and they have earned interest. So we expect sometime in the next fiscal year to be receiving in the range of $200,000, returning from what I would just call over budget on the project. And then a year or two later, we will get the Department of Education reimbursement part of the project that we paid for. And that is something that we cannot control either to the amount or to the timing. So somewhere in the far future, there will be a payment from the state as part of our reimbursement. For what? I'm not giving the amount because it's all guessing right now. Okay? The final issue that I have for my report is the JOC passed a budget for next year for the operations of the Technical Career Center. To give some numbers, total numbers of this year's budget is $4,423,901. That's the operating budget. Next year's proposed budget is $4,845,451. It is an increase. However, we are projecting an increase of approximately 150 students. We have started some new curriculum areas next year, biotechnology, the horticulture group. We are opening up the new building. So the net sum, if I can put it in another term, the cost per student for this year is $4,632, whereas in the proposed budget, the cost per student is $4,404. So the budget is going up but it's a very successful program which brings new students, which increases your costs, but our cost per student is going down. End of report.
Thank you, sir.
I would just like to add, Madam President, if I could, they did a commendable job over there. The budget's only going to increase by $388,000. And I don't know how they can reduce the per pupil cost and provide more services, but they are. And one thing that I did want to point out, if I can, Bill, that majority of the increases are due to salary and benefits. And to give an example, the medical insurance increased by almost 22% this year. That's a healthy increase. And Mr. Irwin, I don't know how this can be done, but he came up with a recommendation because they are so small, they really pay a premium for medical costs. And he is hoping to approach the Joint Operating Committee schools, the sending schools, to see if perhaps he can piggyback on one of our insurance plans. I don't know if that can be done.
One of the 5 schools.
Well, all 4 of the 5 would have to approve it, but he's looking to see if he can piggyback on one of the 5 schools, because, you know, he's really upset how these costs just keep escalating, and then they had a couple serious illnesses last year, which really hit him pretty hard this year. So I just thought I would mention that I don't know who he would contact, would be Dr. Bose or Mrs. Miller, but he's looking to contact the schools to see if he can piggyback on our insurance plans and perhaps reduce his expenditures over there.
Okay, anybody else to the left? Right? Okay, thank you, Bill. Thank you, Pat. Meet and discuss, Mr. Hill.
Yes, there was no meet and discuss committee meeting in the past month, but let me report on a corollary to that North Penn Administrative Association meeting, where we've been working primarily on the merit plan, or the merit plan that we've been talking with administrators on for some period of time. On the committee that I referred to is Vicki Shear and Vince Shapinski and myself. We have reached an agreement or an understanding or on an administrative performance appraisal plan, call it a merit plan, which I think meets what the board is looking for. It ties part of their salary increases into merit performance, which we all believe is the right way to be moving, and they have, the administrators have been very cooperative in working with us and developing this plan, and I think it's going to be good for all of us. So I ask your approval of this plan, which the committee believes meets what the board has requested. And now associated with this plan, we have a letter of understanding with them, no commitment, just a letter of understanding that we will continue to work on associated items outside of this plan, but with some connection to them, some of those being what will be the merit pool the board will approve, and the budget that we're going to be working on for this year, and associated other subjects. So that is also an agreement that we made. With your approval of that, there is an associated motion that we're asking you to approve, and that is the 1% increase effective January 1st, 1998, to the administrators listed as part of the motion that's in the packet tonight. This is the increase that was budgeted in this current budget to be paid when the merit plan was approved. So tonight, we're looking to approve this merit plan and then to pay this 1% retroactive back to January 1st, which in total dollars means they get a 0.5% of an increase because it's for half a year. And so I ask for your approval of that also tonight. That's the end of my report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hill. Questions to the right?
Very quickly, it was my understanding from being on the committee, we were approaching the merit plan as a policy or as an employee administrative policy. Don?
What, excuse me?
That we were approaching the plan as a policy document?
We were not looking at it as a policy
Okay,
document. We were looking at it as a working document. It could, Well, it could be a policy, I don't know, that's something we can talk about.
I didn't know
huh?
whether you were, I saw it as being approached as a policy issue regarding their perhaps administrative regulation then, where we find our other administrative compensation factors then. It's not attached here. You're
It's
asking us to
attached the
vote
addendum.
tonight.
It's attached to the addendum that you got tonight. You got a packet, you got a handout as you,
I have it from before, from our meeting, but I don't see one
no,
attached here.
tonight, tonight,
Well, is that a matter for the public to have as well,
oh, I
Don?
have it, it was here, I have my packet.
It's right here.
It's not in the packet.
You should have this addendum to the action
No, I
agenda tonight.
meant the actual plan.
Yes,
It's attached,
It's
second
attached.
page, second
Okay,
page of the
there
form.
for the audience too, I'll look, thank you.
No, I don't think it's in
No,
the
they don't
audience.
have it.
I don't have it in my packet, this is the one I got from in the back.
well, I don't know if the addendum was given to the audience or not, the addendum, the action agenda.
I have the addendum to the action meeting, but I don't have the actual plan distributed.
Oh, okay. Well, copies of this plan will be available if they're not distributed. Board has copies. It's attached to their addendum.
Any questions to the left?
My only concern is if the public wants to comment on it, they have nothing to refer to, Mr. Hill. I'm happy we have it, but they don't have it. And I think they're entitled to a copy
You wanna
tonight
have John
for
work
public
out?
testimony.
It's a pretty extensive document.
Yeah, it's a long document.
Yeah, we can't.
Mr. Solicitor, what is your call on this one?
I haven't seen the document, so I haven't had an opportunity to even comment on that.
There's other items missing.
You know what, it's a matter of, here you go, I'm sorry. It's a matter of procedure. We have put out documents prior to a board vote. Certainly, the MPAA knows our intent. This is a multi-page, many page document. We do not have time to go in and just run off some copies, as Mr. Golden is usually willing to do from time to time for additional copies. So I would recommend that this motion be kept right, and we'll bring it back again. Certainly, we can discuss it, but let's bring it back again. Copies will be out there and make the approval.
What do you mean, bring it back again?
I guess my concern is when we get to the audience and citizens, the inability for the community to remonstrate because they have not seen the document we're talking about.
Well, they can still talk about it at some later time, but the fact that it's like any document, it's always subject to change or modification as time goes on. If there's a concern about the document, about something that's in the document that they have relative to it, their inputs are always appreciated and can be brought to this meeting, and those adjustments can be made. This document is always subject to change as a working document.
Okay, folks, when we get to the motion on the table, later on in the meeting, your personal opinions as to whether or not we approve tonight or approve at the next special action can be decided then. We certainly know what our intent is. Any other questions this way? Mr. Hill, Mr. Shapinsky, Mr. Sharp, a lot of very hard work was put into this, and certainly you too, Dr. Miller, for all the efforts that you put into this also. Thank you. Municipal Relations, Mr. Shapinsky.
No report.
Any questions of Mr. Shapinsky? What?
No report. I will
Okay,
repeat myself.
ladies and gentlemen, this is your turn. Audience of citizens, please step forward, state your name and address.
Good evening, H. Bruce Gordon, Montgomery Township. I'm sorry I couldn't make last night's meeting, conflict with Cub Scouts. I understand presentations were pretty good, and hopefully you got an understanding of where our administrators are taking us with technology. And I think we need to move forward on this as fast as possible. Hopefully we'll get the numbers together in time for the E-rate deadline, which is the 15th of April. I was at the high school on Saturday, taking part and dropping my daughter off for art class. And I had the opportunity to peek into the IMC. It was locked down, but I did manage to go around the side and look in the doors. a very impressive sight looking at 60 computers, or from what I could count, in the IMC. As we move forward tonight with the middle school IMC project, I would like to bring to your attention, once again, that 60 computers in a high school in the library are set up with little or no space to work with at the student's discretion. The computers are set up side by side. There's keyboard trays, I believe. The workstations were 3.5 feet wide, which left little or no space to put books down, to sit together and work at those computers. And in fact, I believe I saw some computers rearranged from the original designs that were laid out because they took up so much space. Now, I'm not sure if we're looking at desktop or tower units next time around. That would not necessarily take up as much desk space, but the amount of computers we have and the space we put them in just does not allow itself for good working situations there on a computer-by-computer basis. If that had been a computer lab where you're in there for one particular purpose, I can definitely see laying computers out that way. But side by side, 10 in a row, and some having to be turned around, I believe what I could peer at from the distance at the front of the IMC, I was standing around the side, the kiosk set up up front where the students are due to walk in and be able to use a few computers standing up. I believe I saw those units having to be turned so that they could fit on the kiosk instead of facing them forward. So you really need to consider what type of unit we're buying and how much space those need. Don't necessarily buy computer tables next time. Buy flat tables that you can put chairs at so that the kids can spread out, so that the units can be spread out with more workspace. I think we've spent a lot of money, and let's do it right when we move on to the middle schools. I just think the kids do not have enough room to work at those computers, as nice as they are. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wood.
Mr. Gordon, in relationship to the kiosks, that's a temporary setting. We're waiting for the pull-out keyboard drawer to come. So they'll turn around, and that worked out well. We built those in-house. It wasn't something we could buy. We built those 2 units and matched the plastic laminate to the rest of the tables. But we're still waiting. Initially, we were going to sling the box underneath. Now we're just going to have the pull-out, and that will turn everything around. So it's fine.
Madam President?
Yes, sir.
Just to comment on what Art just said, I had a conversation with our technology people about just about every issue that the gentleman raised, and we have made adjustments to the new plan already, just for these reasons, because it's a learning process, and as we did it, we found things we won't do again. And that was some of the issues he raised were things we already made changes to the middle school proposals for.
Great. Okay, thank you, Mr. Shapinsky and Mr. Wood and Mr. Gordon. You were misty on the night because when we started the meeting, somebody said, "Where's Bruce?"
That was me.
It was Sharice. So that should make you feel good.
Second grade Cub Scouts in the wood.
You got it. Anybody else, please? Yes, sir, Mr. Graziano.
Thank you, Mrs. Mengel. Bob Graziano, Tomenson. I have comments on 4 things, questions really, and I'll just go in the order that they're in the packet. I noticed tonight that you're approving the enrollment of a North Penn High School student, paying the tuition at the Upper Bucks Vocational Technical School for next year. Is it possible for somebody to explain, why that's necessary and how much that costs?
I can explain. It's necessary because the program that this student wishes to study is not offered at our North Montco Technical Career Center. We have an obligation under Pennsylvania rules and regs to provide this student education in the neighboring vocational technical school if the program is offered there. The tuition will be paid by the school district, the same as if the student were to go to our own career center. And though I don't know the tuition yet because the director has not responded to my inquiry, I believe it will be comparable to what the tuition rate is at North Montco.
So essentially, there's no increased cost to the district, is that correct?
I don't have the final figure yet. I think it'll be comparable, and I think you can interpret that, Mr. Graziano, to be a little wiggle room on my part until I have a number.
How about transportation? How does that work?
Transportation may be the student's own responsibility.
Thank you. Second item is something Ms. Scher referred to, and that was not having the bio for the new manager of School and Community Services. I can appreciate what she's saying, even more so because we don't have it at all in our packet. So we cannot review that at all.
We gave it out. We distributed it with all the other materials.
We got it.
Unless I
He's
missed it.
saying it's not
No,
attached
he's
to
saying it's
the
not in their
agendas
packet.
for the audience.
We're got
That
it.
was the
personnel issue?
resume, that was it.
No, we never got a resume. We got
Oh,
a,
okay.
That was,
And
that
Dr.
was-
Miller, speak up.
Where'd they go?
Go ahead, address that, please.
I know that was, my secretary did prepare that. That was sent with the papers. I cannot answer why it is not in here tonight, but certainly we can have it for you.
And I'm not suggesting you delay that vote either, by the way.
Good as there are.
Next item I'd like to ask about is the vandalism report. It's my perception, and I may be wrong, but it's my perception that it seems lately the vandalism costs have been going up. What I was wondering is if it would be possible, I'm not looking for Art to have any more work, but I'm wondering if it's possible to have maybe a 3 or 4 year report of how the vandalism costs have been, and if we can see any type of pattern at all. And number one, is my perception correct? Have those costs been going up? And number two, is there any sort of pattern, and maybe we can address that to see if we can reduce some of those costs?
Yeah, we can certainly give you more information. When we have outside, it's interesting, outside activity, we have had a mild winter. And when we have a mild winter, December, January, and February are more active than a cold winter, because people are outside and don't have a lot to do, and you see a dumpster fire, and you see 2 broken windows, window shot out with a BB gun, downspout, vandalized, window broken. The lower part, all of the number 2 incidents really relate to weather. I mean, it's the way it happens. The other thing is, we have reduced vandalism considerably. Now, I see, comparison year to year, we're up about $80, I guess. And, I'll certainly give you whatever you want. I mean, we've been keeping it. Mrs. Derrickson, how long have we been keeping it? 17 and a half years. So,
Yeah, like I was saying, it's just my perception that it's been rising. I'm just wondering if we're seeing some type of problem or if it's just an aberration.
and quite frankly, our biggest hit, and you'll see that typically in August, July and August, are bus seat replacements. I mean, we just have, it's bad enough in North Penn traffic to try to watch the road, let alone, and with a high seat in front of each position in the bus, people just happen to work a pen or a pencil, and the next thing you know, they're replacing the seat.
Mr. Graziano, I want to point out that watching this over many years myself, what has increased in terms of a pattern or a piece of a pattern you might be looking for is the collection from students has gradually increased, and I would attribute that to the fact that we have hired a number of very aggressive security people with backgrounds in police work that have used that background, that experience to ferret out who did what, when, where, and take them in.
Right, and I'm certain
And
that if
that's where I'm really impressed, that we've been able to properly handle students, find the right party who caused the damage, and make them reimburse the district.
and I'm sure that would show up if we did have some type of
Absolutely.
report. Thank you.
Absolutely.
The last item is on the calendar. One note on the introduction letter to the calendar, I noticed it says 180 instructional days. I assume that's a typo?
182.
It says 180.
Yeah, that's a typo.
It should be 180.
And the only thing else on the calendar is that the format of this is terrific. Whoever designed this format is so much easier to read than
Well, let's
than in
find
the
out
past.
who did that format.
That would be Michael Schlotterbeck.
In the Community Relations Department, I called him and I asked him. I knew he had the technology to do it, and I think it was within that very day.
Yes, I'd like to compliment the gentleman because it's much
It's
easier.
very
to read.
much easier to read, isn't it?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Graziano will make sure that Dr. Bose gets a small note off to Mr. Slaughterbeck and let him know that his very artistic calendar had been noticed.
Thank you.
We'll
Thank
make
you.
him watch the videos.
That's it, that's even better than that.
Punish the guy.
Is that a reward?
Anybody else, please? Ladies and gentlemen, it's your turn. Yes, madam.
Danielle Koski, Townmenson Township. There are 2 areas I'd like the board to take a very serious look at. One is our whole television production department and what is shown on our cable channels. I happened to be at the last meeting of the Community Relations Committee because I very strongly urged the board to open all, I shouldn't say open, but to videotape all of the committee meetings for those of the public who can't make these meetings, particularly since some of them are as early as 4:30 in the afternoon when many people are still at work. And while I was at that meeting, it was just coincidence that we had a report from the two people handling our television programs. And I was appalled at what I regard as the lavishness of some of these plans. I don't think we as a school district need to pretend to be PBS. I see no reason why we need to show cooking programs which we are spending money, taxpayer money, producing on our cable station. I have nothing against cooking programs. In fact, I love them myself, but there are plenty of them on other cable stations. There are a wealth of them on PBS. And I see no reason why the taxpayers of this district are producing television programs of such things as cooking shows. Mr. Gilmore also said that he's looking for a way to convert some old tape from the marching nights in the early 1970s to do a best of the marching nights series of programs. Again, I see no reason why we're doing this. He did comment on how time-consuming some of this programming is. I believe we increased the staff from 1 to 2 people handling that programming this year, and I would strongly recommend to the board that we bring it back to 1 person and concentrate on the very important business of this district, which is all school board committee and action meetings and school events such as sports events and concerts. Again, I must repeat, we do not have to be PBS. I think this is an area where it's like our school calendar. We have this fancy, elaborate calendar for years and years and years. I know the calendar has won awards, but I'm not concerned with having an award-winning calendar. What I want is to see our students winning awards. And any money being spent on these little frills would better be spent on our students. For years, I've been after this board to do something with what I regard as a horrendous dropout rate. And in 2 or 3 years now, I have not seen even a suggestion of 1 new program for the dropouts. My other recommendation to the board is that before the end of this school year, that you look at all our rental fees, our users, and try to determine just how fair those fees are as far as our actual costs for janitors, utilities, and those kinds of things, and to some extent what those users would pay for space in the commercial arena. We have 2 or 3 members of this board who are in the real estate business. Mr. Long has given you extensive figures at several board meetings on the gross discrepancy between what the base program would pay in the commercial world and the ridiculously low amount they're paying to this district. And I see no reason why we cannot make money from these programs. Certainly, when I look at this agenda and see what looks like about $100 million of bond issues that this district owes, we certainly could use that money. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols. Okay, anybody else, please? Yes, Mrs. Abrams.
Linda Abram, Upper Gwinnett. I hope we pass the middle school technology recommendation that's on there tonight. Enough said. Question on the calendar. We start on the 8th, which is Tuesday after Labor Day. Has a decision been made on when orientation for K-7 and 10 will occur?
The teachers and the administrators are working on that right now. There's probably going to be a split with some of them. For example, kindergarten may be happening on that first day. But at this point, all I can say is that they're working on them based on the calendar.
Okay. I know that that was a concern brought at elementary level, and I think it would be a good idea if kindergarten, it seems logical that kindergarten would be on the first day of school. To come in earlier, probably would work. I don't know how many people you would get in, but obviously you'd have the full complement of staff on the first day of school and just the atmosphere of school being in session for them. So I know that was brought up.
A plan was presented to the elementary principals yesterday, and at this point, although not definitive, most were in agreement that September 8th would be the appropriate time to bring the kindergartners in.
Okay. Assuming then that 7 and 10 might come in the week before, or you're looking at that as well for
We're
the
still
first
looking
day?
at that.
Okay, all right. I do have a question about the recommendation for the manager of school and community service position. I don't have anything against the person. I am very curious to know what that job will now entail. I know that it's obvious from the salary that this is not a Ken Weir job. Obviously, he did a lot more than what this is saying. But can you reiterate to the community, when will we be able to know this person's job descriptions and what they will be doing?
We can make the job descriptions available in the community service office tomorrow.
Okay. And I see she'll be joining us, there was a date in April, I believe, in a couple
14th.
weeks. April 14th. Okay. All right, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Abrams. Anybody else, please? Okay, David, I saw you slip in here at 7:47. Have you so soon forgotten what time we start these meetings? Welcome. Good to see former board members that we've served with come back and visit. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Crew, how much time is left on the tape?
45 minutes.
Thank you. You're going to help give me hand signals, right?
No, we can't. We'll get it. Just say we will. Let's get it done.
All righty, Dr. Bose.
Let me begin by bragging.
Absolutely.
Which is something we can never have too much of, because I'm going to brag about our kids. I think most of us recognize that last weekend was another stellar weekend for North Penn High School students. 2 state championships. One in athletics, the boys swimming team repeated its 2nd consecutive state championship, and one in academics. The academic decathlon team won its 2nd straight state championship. There's not another high school in this state that has done that. We might not find another high school in this country that on the same weekend won 2 state championships in academics and athletics. What a diverse and well-rounded high school program, and how well the boys and girls who attend North Penn High School take advantage of the opportunities that are offered them. That's an outstanding accomplishment, and the superintendent of schools can't say enough about how proud we all ought to be of that accomplishment. Then I would add to it that 3 of our Odyssey of the Mind teams won championships in regional competition in the same weekend. Now, Odyssey of the Mind is something new in North Penn. It's in its 2nd year, and already we have 3 regional champs. That's a program that challenges young people at all age levels to compete using their brains and their creativity. And they're judged according to solutions they fashion for really strange problems. But these, again, are kids about whom we should be proud and encourage more of the same. Now I'll get on to the real work that brings us here. I recommend that the board approve policy 9140, bylaws of the board, organization, and for board committees.
Second. Motion by Krieger, second by Mosey. Questions right, left? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
I recommend approval to enroll a North Penn High School student whose name is on file in the superintendent's office in the Upper Bucks Vocational Technical School for the 1998-99 school year with tuition paid.
So moved.
Motion by Hill, second by Mosey. Questions left? Right? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
I'm about to recommend the calendar, but we have a correction to make, and I think that is it, Dr. Hesser, to the number of days?
Yes, on the green sheet, as noted, it's 182 rather than 180
Student days.
student days.
Right. And now I do recommend that snazzy new calendar for the 1998-99 school year as presented.
So moved. Okay, motion by Krieger, second by Schilling. Questions left? Right? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Thank you.
Recommend ratifying through a ratification approval for the purchase of equipment under the terms and conditions of the Commonwealth Cooperative Purchasing Program and Pennsylvania Purchasing Program for microcomputers, authorized by North Penn Resolution number 104-97 dated July 24, 1997. The totals are $120,652 for the ESC Administrative Computing Project and $150,034 for the high school IMC upgrade.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Mosey, second by Krieger. Questions, right? Left?
Yes. Perhaps my question, I guess, is to Mr. Solicitor. The IMC project was over $400,000, and the ESC project, this building was $484,000, and the high school IMC was $235,000. When I read this, I see that we're only basically ratifying the items that were over $10,000. Should we not ratify the whole project, or just the items over $10,000?
I think you'd be in a bond.
State contract, we still have to approve it. We don't have to bid it, but we have to approve state contract purchases.
Well, I'm hearing different pieces of information on either
Right.
side of me, so I'm
Right.
not really sure that I can answer that question without getting a full explanation as to
I read the
matters that
Peckham
are-
contract, and from what I could read into it, we do not have to bid if we purchase from state contract.
But that part's
But as a
correct.
board, we do have to approve, we should, as a matter of policy, approve purchases.
Pat, you have to deduct the Penimation contract because we took a motion on that, so that
That was
would-
$160,000.
That, okay, and the furniture was also in a vote in December.
That's
So
right.
you'd have to back that
Well-
out.
well-
I don't know if you're still seeing a difference in dollars, but we on our December agenda item,
I
agenda,
know
we
for-
did approve the furniture. Art came forward with bids.
All
When
I'm
we
saying
approved
is,
it.
Vicki, I know there were items
For the
over
high school.
$10,000 in say, for example,
Oh.
both projects. But what I'm saying is, I see here, just, the ESC was a $484,000 project. I know we approved prior $160,000.
And 200 and,
And
how much was involved in
the library was
Penimation?
$235, and I see we're being asked to approve $150.
Mr. Mosey, to make a correction, if you turn to your green sheet, number 26-98,
Yes.
there are items being listed that are under 10,000. Any and
Right.
all items purchased from the Peckham contract are listed.
Okay, well then, we got information saying that the IMC was $235,000 project. I see $150,000 here.
I'm not sure what you're referring to, but there was $150,000 worth of goods and services purchased off the Peckham contracts.
We're only approving tonight the stuff off the contract, right?
That's right.
I'm just asking Vince to make sure that this doesn't come back to bite us later. Are we only approving certain things of the project, or are we approving the whole
But
project?
we have, this is still good and fresh. We can approve this. If there's more needed and more information needed from the solicitor with Carol Detty, then we can provide that again. Another issue that might be dealt with is special action for whatever might be an addendum number to this.
Thank you, Madam President.
But this one, at least this much is good. Thank you, Mr. Mosey. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Recommend ratification approval of the professional service of J.E. Biro and Associates, Inc. for electrical assessment and InfoQuest and Group, Inc. for network engineering. The total cost not to exceed $25,000.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Mosey. Questions left?
Yes, this is not a ratification, Madam President. I think we're asking Myra to begin work on it.
That's the plan. We will notify him in the morning as to the outcome of the vote tonight, so that he can start tomorrow, although he picked material up today, but he has not done anything as far as the.
Well, I would think his coming here today, if he's the kind of businessman most people are, that clock ticked today.
No, he was here to review the high school and did not charge us.
Okay, but in terms of a ratification, if he was here already starting to tick before this board approved his.
He's our electrical, he's already been approved for the high school project. He was part of the
Okay, I know
approved
that.
high school
But you're
project.
questioning the ratification on these two groups.
I asked him, you know, his clock will begin tomorrow morning if you approve, so it's really not a ratification.
It is for an info quest. It is.
Yeah, InfoQuest it is. Maybe we should split those.
How about ratification and approvals? Would that work, Solicitor?
Why don't you just break out the ratification portion from the other and then vote them separately?
Okay. Okay, the ratification would be on InfoQuest, Mrs. Deddy, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and Biro would be
Approval.
approval.
You
Okay,
wanna
we
take
have a
those two
motion and a second
separate?
on the table.
You want to take those two separate?
Yes, the motion was, Mrs. Derrickson, help me with who's who.
It was Hill and Mosey.
Okay.
Or
Mr. Hill, will you remove your motion from the floor?
Sure.
Mr. Mosey, your second?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Recommend the ratification of the professional services of InfoQuest and Group Incorporated for network engineering.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Questions?
Motion by Hill, second by Mosey. Questions left?
Just to reiterate what Pat said earlier, that from now on, I'd like to see this stuff come before either the committee or the full board before it happens. I mean, this is becoming a small habit, and I'm starting to get a little ticked off that I got to keep ratifying things that have been done.
Right.
I know it's an important issue, and I know we're going to have to do it to get this job done, what we're forced to do it, but I really would like to find out about it before it happens, not 3 months after it happens. That's all.
All right. Questions, right?
To add to that, I'd like to know if there was any advisement sought from our solicitor regarding the professional services, because that's an area that you can read the school code 4 or 5 times and have a hard time understanding the distinction between professional services that require competitive quotes and those that don't. So was there any solicitor's advisement behind the InfoQuest and Group and a $25,000 single source placement for this job?
We did look at that issue, and we made the determination that it was professional services, and we looked at it for that reason.
15 to 10.
As a direct answer to your question, yes, we looked at it.
Did you look at it, and the determination was
And we agree that the
we can
project-
just, okay.
We can go ahead with it this evening in the manner that we're going ahead with.
Okay.
Okay. Again, the motion and the second was made by who, Mrs. Derrickson, on this one?
Mosey.
Hill and Mosey?
Mosey again.
Okay, gentlemen, would you consider that we add to the motion that's on the floor for a cost not to exceed $15,000?
Yes, ma'am.
So amended. Okay.
So second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Roll call, please. Mrs. Derrickson?
Allen,
Yes?
Hill,
Yes.
Krieger,
Yes.
Mosey,
Yes.
O'Donnell,
Yes.
Scher,
Nay.
Sierpinski,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Mengel.
Yes. Okay, also, we recommend the approval of the professional services of J.E. Biro and Associates, Inc. for the electrical assessment for a total cost not to exceed $10,000.
I think
That should
Mr.
be
Wood said
9,000.
9,000.
Not to exceed 9,000.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Krieger, second by Mosey. Thank you. Questions, right? Left? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Recommend approval of the installation of 30 workstations at each middle school library and authorization to purchase the equipment under the terms and conditions of the Commonwealth Cooperative Purchasing Program and Pennsylvania Purchasing Program for microcomputers authorized by the North Penn Resolution number 104-97 dated July 24, 1997. The project costs not to exceed $424,860.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Schilling, second by Krieger. Questions left?
The only thing I would like to say, Madam President, is that whether we purchase off a state contract or we go out for bid, that the final costs come back and be approved from this board before purchase orders or any purchases are made.
Okay. Messages clear?
That's good business.
That will hold up this project, and that's fine. We haven't ordered the computers yet, so this is very important timing. Thank you. That project will be held up.
By how long?
Excuse me?
By how long?
Well, we've got to get the prices for the Pepin contract and come back to you. We have a special meeting on the 14th, and we can probably have it ready by then. So the calendar or the schedule that you have along with this proposal is obviously going to be delayed 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
So be it.
Questions or
Carol, can I ask you a question? You're going state bid list, correct? So as long as state bid, so if you've determined your equipment, it's a matter of just pulling that together to give the pricing, correct?
Yes, we've already done that. We know that they have the best price, but it changes every day. So we will get it on the night of the 13th, and we'll have the price of that equipment.
Well, we have several meetings scheduled specifically for technology. April 2nd, have I not heard? April 7th, have I not heard? And certainly with proper advertisement, if the need be, we could make a special action meeting. So I think it's a little presumptuous to say that that philosophy of this board is automatically killing the project.
It isn't killing the project, it's proper business procedures.
Okay,
When do you think these will be in by?
We can have the prices immediately. If we need to get approval of the project, we'll get the prices.
We have a meeting scheduled on the 2nd, do we not? Yeah, we have a special action meeting, and why not? Most of the board members, I'm sure, will be there anyway, because it's combined work, combined committee meeting.
Okay, let's take this motion. It is on the floor, and let's come back, and if we want to make another motion that we have a special action on the 2nd, then you can make it right off the floor.
Like a motion to table?
Motion to
Doesn't
table
change
what?
the motion.
Oh.
That's just additional.
Well, the whole purpose of this motion is to get a carte blanche approval of this anonymous equipment. That's why it's on there.
Just approval for the total project, but individual components, we still want approval of.
Page 2.
Doesn't change it.
Any questions, 11? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, I heard that there was a wish that the April 2nd combined meeting of technology and curriculum of April 2nd be made a special action meeting for purposes of the approvals on the computer equipment. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Krieger, second by Mosey, that we will duly advertise for that meeting. Questions right, left? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Recommend acceptance of the gifts as noted. Period.
Succinct. Motion by Schilling, second by Krieger. Questions?
Just in relationship to this equipment, Dr. Hassler, do we, or Dr. Bose, do we know if this computer equipment is going to fall in line with our pending elementary computer plan, or do we know that yet?
Well, we know that it won't interrupt or compete with it. It might be adjunct to it once we install the elementary program.
Thank you.
All right, continue on.
We need,
Oh, I'm sorry.
to hear a motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Before we move on to corrections, Dr. Miller, before we move on to personnel, Dr. Miller, tells me we have some corrections.
Thank you, Dr. Bose. If I could call everyone's attention to page BA-5A, under nominations, professional number 2, Craig Smith, could we please remove that from the agenda? These are all, the 4 changes that I have occurred after this agenda went out today. Things happened quickly in our office. On the next page, BA-5B, under support staff, change of position, number 1, under Cassell Elaine, the effective date should be 4/1/98. And if you, I'm sorry? And if you could move down to number 4, Geiger, Donna, the same thing, the effective date should be 4/1/98.
Makes a difference.
On the last page, if you could turn the page, under leaves of absence, number 10, Van Tryon, if you could look at the effective dates, The second one should be 6/12/98. She will be back by the date that's listed there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, folks, you've heard the changes.
Now the recommendations. I recommend the board approve the nominations for new employees found on item BA-58, 2 professional and 7 support staff.
So moved.
Motion by Krieger.
Second.
Second by Mosey. Questions right? Left? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Thank you.
I recommend you approve the retirement of 1 support staff presented on BA-58.
So moved.
Motion Mosey, second Krieger. Questions to the right? Left?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Just like to say goodbye to Mr. Kramer.
Very kind. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Thank you.
Recommend the board approve the resignations of 7 support staff found on BA-5A.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mosey, second by Sierpinski. Questions left? Right? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
I recommend the board approve the position changes of 2 professional staff and 5 support staff as found on BA-5B.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mosey, second by O'Donnell. Questions right? Left?
Yes.
Could you just, again, Dr. Bose, reiterate which ones we're doing on 5B?
Professional and support.
Change of position.
On BA-5B.
Okay, all of these, okay. Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Madam President,
Oh, I'm
you
sorry.
didn't give us a chance.
I said left, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. You had questions?
I just wanted to make a comment that I will miss Donna Geiger. She has been a great help to me in the Assessment and Staff Development Office, but I am looking very much forward to meeting Mrs. Cassell. Thank you.
I had a couple of questions. I noticed that Ms. Cassell is going to have a starting salary of $32,000, and I noticed that Donna Geiger made $30,000. What is the reason to increase that by $2,000?
That was part of the agreement that personnel reached with the support staff, and one of the changes was that if someone was here more than 6 months, had a record with the district, had a satisfactory rating at least once in their rating, they would transfer internally to 94% instead of 90%. Only new hires come in at 90%.
This is a policy we have in place now?
That's part of the agreement we made with the support staff over the last month and a half. It's one of the issues they raised.
You mean secretarial support?
Secretarial support, yes, I'm sorry, secretarial support.
Secretarial only.
Did we get a memo or anything on that?
We would have, up until
We're not-
situation with Frank.
Yeah.
We would have. Frank is aware of the rectifications that we are trying to make appropriately. Based on all information gathered.
Can I ask that we do receive something in the near future, just so we
Yes.
have an idea, and we won't have these questions pop up at future meetings?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And also, I see the Cindy Fry, who's going from assistant reprographics operator to part-time assistant reprographics and part-time bookkeeper. The salary is going from 21 to 22.
Yes, Mr. Mosey. The reason that is happening is that the part-time bookkeeper is at a higher level, and so half of a higher level salary is going to take her salary up from where it was as just a full-time reprographics operator.
Any further questions?
That's all I have.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Gotcha.
Recommend the change of status of 1 professional staff as presented on BA-5C.
So moved.
Motion by Krieger.
Second.
Second by everybody. We'll assign to Sierpinski. Okay, questions right. Left. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Thank you.
Recommend the leave of absence for 11 professional staff and 1 support staff as presented on BA-5C-D.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Hill.
Second.
Second by Sierpinski. Questions left?
I just have a question. Many times we receive memos from Dr. Miller's office in regards to certain situations involved with disabilities, and I don't recall getting anything on. I think I got on a couple, but I'm sorry, I can't recall getting explanations on all, and I was just wondering, is there some reason that we get some explanations on some and not all?
Yes, most of these are always routine in terms of child rearing, maternity. The ones that are not routine are the ones...
Specific to disability.
Correct. Disability, pregnancy is a disability under the law, and we have to use the word disability, and so from now on, what we do when we have those is that we just use them as normal disabilities.
I've been disabled for years and didn't know it.
No.
Oh, my
No,
God.
it doesn't make you want to.
Years of disability.
I think what she's asking, Mrs. Miller, if I can interject, is the fact that we did receive quite a bit of explanation on some others, but on this professional on page BA5C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I only recall receiving one on childbearing.
Yeah.
The others, it says disability, personal, we didn't get anything on here. You're saying that the others, even though it says disability, they're childbearing as well?
Some are not. Some are medical.
And I guess my question is that the board has received background explanations in regards to those which are medical, and I was just curious, is there...
In the past, Mrs. Krieger, you have not always received information on the particular kind of disabilities that we have here. If you're asking that we provide that for you, we will be happy to do that.
Well, I just recall receiving things like that in the past, so I was just wondering if something had changed to make it more selective. That's all.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Thank you.
Recommend approval of Christine Liberoski as manager of school community services at a salary of $62,500, effective April 14, 1998.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Shapinsky, second by Hill. Questions right? Left? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Thank you.
Recommend approval of additions to the professional and support staff substitute list for the 1997-98 school year.
So moved.
Second it.
Motion by Mosey, second by Shapinsky. Questions left?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Why are some of these people in italics?
The people that are in italics are the people that are added after the original agenda goes out. That was the format that Dr. Bose and I developed last year whenever we had additions and we did not want to have to wait another month to put them on an agenda.
Okay.
Right.
Just a comment that the nurse is not related.
I was concerned about that.
But is that the Rosie O'Donnell we think it is?
That's the secretary.
No.
Where?
Any questions to the right? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
Recommend approval of changes to the extra duty assignments for the 1997-98 school year.
Second.
I didn't hear the motion, folks, I'm sorry. I heard a second.
I said so moved.
He's so diminutive.
I was listening to Pat say second.
Motion by
That's why.
Shapinsky, second by Mosey. Questions right? Left? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Thank you.
Recommend approval for the North Penn School District to enter into a contract with Therapy Providers, Inc. for speech and language services at a cost of $40 per hour for the remainder of the school year, as presented on 34-98.
That's the one on the first page. The addendum.
BAAA.
That's the addendum.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. I need a
Second. So
motion by
moved.
Schilling, second by Shapinsky. Questions left?
Don't do that. I have a question.
Go ahead.
Mrs. Mangle, you alluded to it earlier, and I'd like to know what we were paying the salaried individual that was here, that left.
The teacher who was here, who is out on disability and childbearing, was pretty high on the scale for a teacher. I don't have her salary in front of me, but it was fairly high. However, Mrs. Krieger, I will tell you that our intention was, as it always is when we bring in a substitute, is to bring someone in at entry level. However, we had a very, very difficult time finding a teacher because speech and language is an area where there is a critical shortage. And as I explained in the memo that I sent you, a quite detailed memo, we tried every avenue to try to bring in a long-term sub because I really did not want to have to bring you this recommendation. And whenever we called the private agencies and found that the rates were so high for this particular area, I certainly am going to recommend that people study this area because it's an area that seems to be lucrative. But unfortunately for school districts, it becomes very expensive when we need the services to be able to provide for those of our students who are mandated to have them. We became very fortunate that we were able to find an agency that was willing to work with us and provide lower rates. And this is the lowest rate that we could find. It is about $15 higher than what we would pay an entry-level teacher per hour. And I wish I did not have to bring it tonight, but by the same token, I'm happy to be able to provide the service for the students.
Okay, thank you. Is there a possibility that this $40 an hour is more than the hourly rate we pay the person that's...
No, it's less than what we paid the person who left, who is out right now. Okay. But it is more than we would have paid a substitute.
Would that include fringe benefits too?
They don't get paid benefits. It's a contract with an agency.
Really, it's significantly less if you add on the fringe benefits to the other
right,
person
right.
compared to...
Right.
That's correct.
The person being replaced is a member of the bargaining unit?
The person being replaced is a member of the bargaining unit and will be back.
Okay. Any other questions?
Judy, were these services from the IU that we used to at one time before we moved in-house? That we used to get them from?
I don't believe that we have them anymore. The services that we used to get from the IU were from quite a number of years ago before, I believe, that we entered into an agreement, and it wasn't just our school district, many school districts, to hire speech and language teachers into the districts from the IU.
91,
yes, it was a while back.
So there's no effort to headhunt one of them?
I called the IU, and the IU had nobody to provide for us because they don't provide that service for us.
All right, any further questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Nay. Roll call, Mrs. Derrickson.
Allen.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Krieger.
Yes.
Mosey.
Yes.
O'Donnell.
Yes.
Sher.
Yes.
Sherpinski.
Yes.
Schilling.
Yes.
Mengel.
Nay. Okay, go ahead, Doctor.
Recommend approval of the administrator's performance appraisal plan, the merit plan, as provided.
So moved.
Question by Hill, second by Sean. Questions left?
Yes, Madam President. I'd just like to point out that I will not be voting for this, and I will give several reasons why. Number one, I was involved in the initial process when we first started working on this. I like the initial proposal a lot better. I find this to be somewhat watered down. I am concerned with the fact that there was going to be more representation by the board in the committee process, and that has been stricken. I also see that we have included administrator cabinet level salaries and the salary breakdown, and that was asked to be moved a while ago. I see the cost of living plus the either 100% of merit or 75% of merit. And then I'm concerned with the fact that anyone who gets a merit increase will become part of their base salary. I can see with the cost of living being 2.6 or 2.8% right now, and of course to be, I guess, legitimate, we would have to give a 2 or 3% merit increase every year, so we're going to be looking at a 5 or 6% increase every year. My intent, I understand the original concept was that this merit pay was to be a stipend or a bonus and not to become part of a permanent salary. And also, one of the items, number 6, supervisors, I see are still included in the in item 6 on the salary bands. And I know that was requested to be removed. So that's all I have to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
To the left.
I have the list of salaries that's included. Is this the total list of administrators in this?
The salaries for the 1%.
That's nothing to do with this motion.
That's the next motion? Okay. My only question was, I thought as well that the cabinet level 9, that was going to be taken out. Did I misunderstand that?
I didn't know I know you guys had raised that question, but we never discussed removing it. and it was a recommendation of the committee, at least two of us, Vicki didn't make that second meeting, that we would include the cabinet. What would be the reasoning not to include the cabinet?
Because I believe that the cabinet was evaluated by the superintendent. Haven't you withdrawn the superintendent's ability to?
No, well, the superintendent would be the direct supervisor of the cabinet, and he is the person who would do the evaluation of the cabinet.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, and as far as the issue to the first thing Pat brought up, you asked about, I think the original question, one of the items you mentioned, I'm not sure, was the percentage of how much an increase of merit could mean to someone.
Well, my concern is I think we've replaced this merit pay with compa ratio. Vince, I don't see anybody getting, the way you have it laid out is they get a superior, far exceeds expectations. You know, we initially discussed having, I don't want to get into what we initially discussed. I thought it was more challenging, and I thought it was, you know, people were going to earn it. I don't see anybody coming forth with that and exceeds or far exceeds expectations in their reviews. And you know, you're going to have to, you know, for merit pay, to make it worthwhile, you're going to have to offer 2 or 3% every year. And with the cost of living, you're looking at, you know, 5.5%, 5.8%, 6% increases.
Well,
I think you
that's not an
replaced
accurate
I think you
statement.
replaced the merit with the compa ratio.
That's not accurate, and I can, let me address it how we approach this, just so you can understand some of the reasoning behind it. First, the board has to determine in its budgetary process what the merit pool is. That will determine the amount of money that everyone gets.
Right.
Okay. Under all the models that we've run, that we talked about in other sessions, the idea of somebody getting a 3% to their base is ludicrous. It's not going to happen that way. The other issue, as far as how we approach that, or how we approach that formula, the board needed to have a few things back. One, we have a salary cap now established. The maximum in these salary bands is now a salary cap that which we can review every year. So we get a salary cap for this program. For that cap, we allow them movement in their merit pool to add that to their base. That's the exchange we worked out with them. But we will not be giving our administrators three on top of 3. It's not going to happen that way.
Well, the merit piece wasn't based on a percentage. It was based on X number of dollars, which is determined every year by the board. It wasn't a percentile.
But they get it based on their percentage of that pool.
Their percentage
Okay, but
of
it
the
wouldn't be
base.
2-3%. It could be $50,000 pot, or $25,000 pot, or $3 against all the participants in the pool.
I will wait till next year, Madam President. I'm not going to argue the point now.
One of our
I
studies
made my
showed-
statement.
One of our studies showed 3 years out, a $40,000 pool, I think it was like a 3.3 average. 1% now, and by the way, I'm going to recommend that we change that 1% back to September 1st. That was one of the models that I worked on behind the scenes, helping the committee out. 1% September 1st, and then the cost of living, whatever that would be at the end of the year. The pool would take effect the year afterwards, so it's not immediate. So it's going to be a while, and there's some other things to work on.
Okay, but we have a motion on the floor, and there are other complications in that there were not copies out to the community, you know, to the public. So we got a number of complications here.
Well, let me finish, too. That was the other
please.
issue. Since we haven't distributed to the public, when's the next special action meeting or action where we can
April
take
2nd
motion?
as of the motion tonight. Anything that comes before the board would be a proper advertisement.
To add to the comment of someone on the committee.
Oh, wait a minute, can we stick with one subject? Would that,
Well,
is
I
that where
guess,
you're heading?
well, yeah, I mean, the question here is if we want to, if we feel it's prudent to give it to the public too, so we can allow further comment from them,
Right.
and I can address any other questions that have come up about the plan so that everybody can see the models. We handed out financials, we handed out the plan. I'll be willing to withdraw my motion, and somebody else can make a motion
wait
to
for that.
table it till April 2nd.
Okay, let's go around and get all the comments, and then you decide whether or not you want to keep your motion solvent or not. Mr. Hill.
Well, obviously, I've been working on this thing a long time with Vince, and I want to move with it. And we kind of told the administrators we were going to move with this thing, and I appreciate the comments that the community can have, and I don't think that by voting on tonight would prohibit them from talking about it like any document, and even during the discussion, some of the wording and some of the things in there may be changed as we move forward. All these documents are working documents, and I don't think we're neglecting the community by delaying it, but so be it.
This way.
Well, Vince, I did miss the last one. I was certainly in a meeting with our solicitor this past Monday, but it's my understanding this was received by most of the board members just tonight also, correct?
No, it was distributed to the board at our last executive session on personnel because we had discussed individuals in this plan.
Right, but this was revisited. This has been revised since the last one I have it right here.
The only clarity that I was given at that meeting was to discuss the eligibility issue, and that is the only addition to this plan since the first presentation.
Then you're saying we didn't change the language? See, I haven't had a chance to read this, so
no,
I wouldn't know,
the question
having
was
just
from
gotten
you.
the hard copy.
This is it.
The staff development issue where we were putting the
No,
language.
you had an issue over the language of one of the ratings
Right.
in the plan. And we discussed it with the administration. They were willing to accept it the way it was, and we moved forward with it.
Oh, you mean, so there's been no adjustments?
Not
In that
to the
language.
word you're talking about.
Well, regarding the commitment towards staff development, we have in here where we as a district are being asked to make a commitment to providing staff development, yet as a part of the evaluation process, I had an interest in seeing us taking that and approaching it from the other end, in that the professional employee shows a commitment to their own professional development, which is something that I'm pushing very hard that it be considered when we deal with the teacher's contract because of the issues we keep hearing about. And so those aspects, I have to suggest that while we've worked very hard and we've got basically a good document here, having it delivered tonight and with so much verbiage in question as to what it really means and how it should be properly interpreted, I think it would be best to give the board members until April 2nd to digest this. It's only a week.
I say approve it as it stands. I think the document's fine, and I go along with Mr. Hill.
Don, you kind of passed over me.
Imagine that.
On purpose.
Well, you hurt my feelings.
I've done that so many times.
She doesn't.
Go ahead.
As I read the document and I listened to the conversation, I think we've come up to things like this before where there's a lot in it and everybody can find something they don't like, something that isn't right, something they don't agree with, and I'm sure if we delay it, everybody's going to have their issues that they want changed, and if it's not changed, we're going to have problems. You have to look at it as a whole. In my mind, anyway, I'm going to look at it as a whole document. I think everybody's given up some things, everybody's gotten some things, and it's time to take care of it, and I'm ready to vote tonight. And I thank you guys for the work you did, and the administrators. Thank you very much. So I call for the question.
Okay, there was a call for the question. Gotta get to speak. You hurt my feelings.
I'm sorry.
I am comfortable with the work that has been produced by the committee, and what I'm not comfortable with is the inability for the community to have this and the opportunity to demonstrate at the podium. That's where I'm uncomfortable. I see this as a fulfillment of a promise made to the community when it is finally voted on, that there would be administrative assessment and performance plan implemented within this 98 year. We have every single administrative position in the district now filled. We've been through a tough time with administrators, and I see the conclusion of this at its proper time, which I hope will be April 2nd. It would do a lot to go a long way in soothing and healing relationships, a bouncy relationship that we have had as this board and the current administration. So, again, thank the folks that worked on this plan, and the question has been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
Nay.
Roll call.
Hill.
Yes.
Krieger.
Yes.
Mosey.
Nay. No,
I thought you were going to abstain.
I didn't say
We're not
abstain, I said I
voting
couldn't
on
vote
the
for this.
motion.
Okay.
That's all right.
Okay, O'Donnell.
Yes.
Sure.
No.
Sierpinski.
Yes.
Schilling.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Mangum.
No. That's a tough one.
Recommend,
That's a
excuse me,
tough one. That was a tough one.
what we can certainly make and will make for the people who are guests tonight, and anybody else who are citizens of the community, copies of this document also available tomorrow from the Office of Community Services.
But I'd like to add the caveat that I would like that to be after 12 o'clock, because it's a considerable document. There should be enough copies made, not made piecemeal. So let's give the staff tomorrow morning a good amount of time before everyone comes in at 9 for a document when they just got in and hung up their coat. Yes. Folks, let's take a 5-minute recess so they can switch the tape. Thank you, gentlemen.
Hey, Bob.
Split it with you if you do it by 10.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you ready? Okay, that's all right. Are all the administrators laughing because that plan is approved?
No.
Okay, no, not I, to the
They
cat.
switched sides.
Okay. All righty, Mrs. Derrickson.
Yes.
Can you tell us where we are? Fortunately, board members don't compete in Odyssey of the Mind against other districts. Where are we?
You are at number
Any other Odyssey.
the agenda.
The 1%.
The
4-7.
The addendum, number
We're
7.
just starting.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Derrickson. Okay, go ahead, folks.
Recommend approval of a 1% increase in salary for the 1997-98 school year effective January 1, 1998 for administrators as presented on BAA-2.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Hill, second by Shapinsky.
No. I didn't, that was Sharice.
Second. Does your voice get deeper and gets later at night? Okay, motion by Hill, second by Krieger. Board questions to the right. Left? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Okay.
We're back on page BA-3. Recommending you approve the 9 student travel activities presented on BA-7.
So moved.
Motion by Schilling, second by
Second.
Shapinsky.
Question,
To the left?
just one question, Dr. Bose, being that in view of your announcement tonight with the academic decathlon and their state championship last weekend, I think we should anticipate a national competition.
To Rhode Island.
Okay, is there any way, do you have the date of that competition as
It's
of
like the
yet?
22nd.
Pardon?
It's like the 22nd that they leave, so we meet before they leave.
Okay. Dr. Bose, could you just make sure that that it would be for our approval for their travel? Thank you. That was my only question.
Thank God it's not Las Vegas. Questions around, from the left to the left, to the right? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Thank you.
You'll note, and I think you've already observed, the vandalism report provided for your information. The next recommendation under other business is to recommend that you approve the general administrative budget of the Montgomery County IU for the fiscal year ending June 30, 1999, in the amount of $471,860, with no contribution required from the school district.
Second.
Okay, motion by Krieger, second by Mosey. Questions right? Left? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Nay. Roll call, Mrs. Derrickson.
Krieger.
Aye.
Mosey.
Aye.
O'Donnell.
Sure.
Aye.
What do you say, sure?
Sure. Aye.
Schilling.
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Mangle,
Nay.
and,
Just,
okay.
Don Hill just harassed me. Get back at me for calling him Magoo the other night. Just as a note, folks, I believe in the general administrative budget are also salaries, and I've been a part of negotiating teacher contracts here, and if the salaries are over what I'd be willing to negotiate here for this school district, I never vote for them. So I'll approve the other budgets, but I won't approve that one.
Recommend approval of the curriculum and staff development services budget of the IU for the fiscal year ending June 30, 1999, in the amount of $165,217, with a contribution required from the school district in the amount of $6,055.
So moved.
Motion by Mosey,
Second?
second by Krieger. Questions right, left? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Recommend approval of the legislative budget of the IU for the fiscal year ending June 30, 1999, in the amount of $100,056, with a contribution required from the school district in the amount of $5,471.
So moved.
Motion by Mosey. Need a second or it dies?
Second.
Second by Hill. Questions right, left? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Recommend approval of the instructional material services budget of the IU for the fiscal year ending June 30, 1999, in the amount of $1,748,971, with a contribution required from the school district in the amount of $195,796.
So moved.
Motion by Schilling. Second by
Me.
Shapinsky. Questions left, right? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Recommend approval of the professional services of Maley, Falconero and Company to perform agreed-upon procedures related to the 1996 bond issue at a cost not to exceed $2,500 per proposal, and furthermore, to assign Frank O'Donnell to be board liaison to this project.
So moved.
Motion by Schilling, second by Shapinsky. Questions right, left?
Yes, Madam President. I think in view of the fact that Mrs. Shear is chairman of the Finance Committee, I would like to see that she and Mr. O'Donnell serve as co-liaisons on this project.
Okay, well, assignment to projects and committees are one of the few privileges a president has. Mrs. Shear is still chairman of the Finance Committee, and certainly would hope that she will continue to do all the work that's assigned under finance, and I'm very confident that Mr. O'Donnell is a member of the Finance Committee with a pretty exceptional resume and a good working relationship with Mrs. Deddy, who will do a very fine job. I do expect Mr. O'Donnell to bring his homework back to the Finance Committee.
I do. I anticipate that.
Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Roll call, Mrs. Derrickson.
Mosey,
No.
O'Donnell,
Yes.
Scher,
No.
Sherpinsky,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Krieger,
Nay.
Mangle,
Yes.
6-3.
Thank you.
Recommend approval of the consolidation and refinancing of general obligation bonds, Series 1990, in the amount of $2 million, Series of 1993 in the amount of $3,870,000, and Series A of 1993 in the amount of $4,810,000, in accordance with the February 25, 1998 financing report prepared by Dauphin and Bradbury. The restructuring of the bond issue to be determined no later than May 15, 1998.
So moved.
Second it.
Motion by Hill, second by Shapinsky. Questions left?
Yes, ma'am. I would recommend that in part of the restructuring, that Mr. Bradbury come back with two proposals, one breaking out that $1992 million project, because hopefully we will have gone to settlement with Keenest Road, and my recommendation is that we pay that bond off. It's the one that has the highest interest rate, and we pay that off flat out of the money we get from the Keenest Road sale, and start reducing some of our bond debt service around here.
Okay. Ms. Krieger?
Can that be accomplished through the restructuring process, Carol?
Yes. We'll
Okay.
present another option. We'll
Okay.
present option 3.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That's what I thought we were going to go on.
Okay.
Around? Mr.
I have just
Mr.
one
Allen?
question.
No.
Okay, Mr. Shapinsky?
Thank you.
I just have one question. Mike, can your firm give us an update on the potential settlement of Keenest Road by May 15th? I mean, do you see that happening?
As of the last, I'm sorry.
Is that executive session? That makes me a little scared.
Why don't we discuss that in executive session?
Because whatever you say, we haven't heard yet.
Okay. I withdraw the question.
Thank you.
I assume the motion is the same as it is.
Still on the floor.
Okay. No comment.
To the right?
Only to Carol, given the fact that if we alter the 2 million and whatever, I'm trying to understand what is the purpose of having this vote tonight, since nothing is going to be concrete with this bond issue until it's closer to its callable date. What is the purpose of this as opposed to waiting for the intended March 15th, March or April vote for the restructuring? No, they're not callable till June 1.
The approximately 3 days prior to May 15th, the board could be sooner than that, but approximately 3 days prior to May 15th, the board will have to take a formal resolution. It's a formal government resolution, and the restructuring will have to be agreed upon at that point in time. The purpose of this resolution is nothing more than to express an interest in refinancing so that legal opinions and some of the accountant opinions can begin to be gathered. Prospectus will have to be printed on short notice, but we can begin working on the prospectus.
I didn't know of anything that could be accomplished until you actually have your schedule of your restructuring and the actual bonds that you're asking to be issued. I've never had this stepping stone. I've never come out 60 days or even 30 days prior to the actual intended transaction date, and I just wondered why.
Nothing more than an expression of intent, and I think Mr. Bradbury said he doesn't absolutely have to have this expression of intent, but it would give him a leg up on gathering all the materials that he needs to gather to put this proposal together.
This is upon his recommendation.
I would say, I heard it was upon his recommendation that he'd like to have this expression.
That's what I heard too.
Told me differently. He stood at the podium just 10 days ago and said, you're not being asked to make any decisions on this at this point in time.
On A or B, either the money up front or the money over 12 years. I see this as belt and suspenders. This is says we're coming at you. Now you get all the players lined up. You've got Bradbury, you've got Franklin. We have to keep in mind that Frank is not here, and Michael Yanoff has been running around the clock trying to serve this board. And I appreciate the extra time, and this is the first time we've ever gotten 2 chances, or 2 bites at an apple like this, to think, rethink, listen to other opinions. I think it's good you did it this way, Carol.
You'll have 3 bites.
3 bites.
3 bites,
Yeah, the
yeah.
3 days before May 15th, you'll have to take formal action.
That's cool.
Call for question.
Any other questions?
Call for question.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Roll call, Mrs. Derrickson.
O'Donnell.
Yes.
Scher.
Nay.
Sherpinsky.
Yes.
Schilling.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Krieger.
Yes.
Mosey.
Yes.
Mangle.
Yes. Thank you.
Recommend approval to file Plan Con Part K project refinancing in order to obtain state reimbursement for general obligation bond series of 1997.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Schilling, second by Sherpinsky. Questions left? Right? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. Treasurer's report, Mrs. Demme.
I'm sorry, I didn't get,
What? I'm sorry.
I didn't get who the most, the 2 people.
Schilling and Sherpinsky.
I'm sorry.
I can't believe I remembered. Wow, that's great. That's great.
That's all you remember.
Jesus. I've never hit anybody over the head. Never.
First time forever.
Never. It's the first time for everything. Go ahead, Mrs. Deddy.
The board members have the treasurer's report, and the report concludes that the total funds available is $45,976,367. And I'd like to report that we are in good fiscal condition in terms of our cash flow and the investment of our funds.
I'd like to compliment when you created financing or negative cash balance. That's wonderful.
And all is well.
Yeah.
All righty, is there a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
Second it.
Second, Krieger and Sierpinski. Questions left?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Without having to do this every month, Carol, but could you give us some kind of periodic updates on how much interest we've earned for the fiscal year?
Absolutely.
Please.
I do that every month at the finance meeting. I give a list of all the investments, all the maturities, and all the interest earnings.
For the year?
For the
To
year,
date.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, year to date.
Yep, year-to-date.
You should,
packet deliveries then.
all of our finance materials go out in our package. Everyone.
Well, and since the board has determined that all committee attachments to the agenda will go to every board member, we'll be getting that on a regular basis.
Thank you.
And you'll need to build a room in your house to keep all the paper.
He has a shredder.
Yeah, all his packets are in the front yard.
I was trying to remind
With the newspapers.
there was not to be a vote on the treasurer's report, but to vote on the sanction.
Oh, that's all right.
Well, we
Doesn't
accept,
kill anybody, we'll do both.
we accept the vote.
We accept that. Any other questions, treasurer's report? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Thank you, Mrs. Depp.
The bills list has been presented in a total amount of $1,474,134. Recommend approval of the bills list.
Wait a minute, we're out of order.
Transfers first.
Budget
I'm
transfers
sorry.
first.
You gotta transfer them
The
first before you pay the
agreement.
bills.
Odyssey of the mind.
I recommend approval of budget transfers for the 1997-98 fiscal year in the amount of $36,318.
Motion by Schilling,
Second.
second by Sierpinski. Questions right? Left? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Bills list has been presented for approval in the amount of $1,474,134. Recommend approval.
So moved.
Motion by Mosey.
Second.
Second by Schilling. Questions right?
Carol,
Left? Go ahead.
I have a question on the bond checks. Do you want that now, or?
I don't have my copy of it.
It was White Circle Company. Art, you probably could answer, because I think that has to do with uniforms, correct?
No,
Or
It has to do with
those late,
trailer rentals that we've had since the beginning of the Pendale project. In other words, as we leapfrog through the building, we had to take furniture and materials, and we still have a couple of those trailers with materials in.
it was what, 200?
$74 a month.
Cheap storage. Cheap
It's
storage.
$200 or so?
Yeah, we have, I guess, 3 right now. We have one at Pendale.
And we're taking the rentals out of the 96 bond?
I mean, that's the kind of thing we could take out of the regular,
General fund.
general fund. But, I mean, it's related to the construction project, and I think that's the new definition we're looking for. I mean, I think that's, it's like saying, do you buy microscopes out of the bond? We always have. And that's a decision, I mean, we can certainly.
I mean, some of these disposable services, like temporary electricity, I mean, I'm just a little nervous over some of the things that we use from a bond as a, that's been a longstanding concern of
You can't
mine.
fill the building
The money's spent.
without electric. And that temporary electric service that came in from Valley Forge Road, our new electric service for the high school addition, won't go in until this summer. And my point is, you have to, in accordance with any contract, give them adequate electric. So the temporary service at $25,000, when we include everything, or $27,000, was an absolute necessity. You'll see the poles coming off of Valley Forge Road, running all the way into the job site. It's part of the project. In the future, I mean, you could pull that out, but then we've got to budget in advance in the general fund. And I guess it's an all-inclusive project. I would think we could go back and reimburse the bond issue, and Carol could address that better than me, for the rental of trailers. But we knew at one time we had 8 trailers, didn't we, Mrs. D, 8 or? Yeah.
The purpose it's stating is tech ed. It says White Circle, tech ed, $144.
Tech ed was, if you recall, We when we went to a technology classroom in lieu of industrial arts, we took all the industrial arts equipment and put it in trailers. We just had proceeds from the auction of $27,000, and we have another check coming for $800 plus. So when you see Tech Ed rental, that was when we converted Brookfield and Dale to technology from industrial arts.
So then this is associated with the Pendale project instead of the high school project?
It's the Pendale project.
And that's what, $144?
Bond expense, should we have a ruling or not on this? I don't,
Wait a minute, wait, hold on, excuse me, wait a minute, okay, now, wait a minute.
No, that's the point.
That's all right, that's all right, but what isn't all right is that the solicitor is getting this now for an opinion.
Come on, $144, this is bizarre. Let's pass the plate, I'll throw $10 in. Come on, folks.
Okay.
This is ridiculous.
John,
$144, Mickey, come on. I'll put $10 in a plate.
John, it's out of bond money. Do you realize what could happen to us?
Time talking about $144 of payment.
John, there's laws in the state of Pennsylvania. We're talking about the local
You want me to write
government.
the check for $144?
John, excuse me.
No, there's no excuse.
Excuse me, Mr. Schilling. We are talking about following the laws of Pennsylvania that involve the use of tax-exempt
Is this
bond
illegal,
money.
Mr. Solicitor?
Okay, wait, hold it. I'm going to intercede here because what's
Well,
not
you're saying
fair
it's
is,
about
first of
money.
all, this is bedlam. Secondly, everybody's out of order. 3, this is unfair to the solicitor. My God, no wonder Frank Bartle had a heart attack. God rest him. But the solicitor doesn't have the details here, and for him to make a ruling without the details is unfair. And I would appeal to the rest of the board members to support me in that.
Ms. Mayor, can I just add one thing? My past experience, and with Frank, by the way, and with Mr. Potash was, they always said, if you weren't doing the project, would you rent the trailer? And the answer is no. I mean...
That's right.
It's related.
Yes, that's fine. Okay, is there a call for the question?
Yes.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. Food service report, Mr. Wood.
Yes, for February 1998, total income, $354,927.24. Year-to-date, $2,246,749.39. Gross profit on sales for the month of February, $199,609.63. Year-to-date, $1,268,884.91. Net profit, February, $13,061.71. Year-to-date, $118,603.67. Cash disbursements, year-to-date, $1,935,877.44. Cash balance on hand, $1,086,804. Thank you.
That's a lot of Twinkies. Is there a motion to approve the food service report?
Doesn't take action.
So moved.
That's right.
Second with a question.
So
One more
moved.
question.
There is no action.
Real quick. I just don't see that report included in this packet.
You're right. Matter of fact, it's a report. I don't believe we have to.
Don't have to
I
act
don't
on
call
it.
for a motion. Okay.
Okay, call for the question.
There is no question.
There is no question for FYI, sorry.
Any additional information, Mr. Wood? Anything
No,
else?
that's it.
Concludes the food service report. Thank you very much. And our appreciation to Dottie and her staff. Dr. Bose, federal programs, please.
There are federal programs.
Oh.
Good to hear. End of report.
They exist, right? They're alive and well.
You got it.
We could probably call the IRS.
That's a gotcha.
Okay, solicitor's report.
No report.
Be kind.
Oh, come on.
No report.
Oh,
No
come on.
report. Mrs. Krieger, is there a motion to adjourn? Moved.